So the thing with life is it doesn't get any easier, but we get better, right? So it's like the gym. You were talking about fitness, and you know, when you go in the gym and you start sculpting your body, you know, 100 pounds is still 100 pounds.
Yeah.
It doesn't change.
It
you
just
know what I
feel
mean?
easier
but
when you get
it gets
better.
easier
Right.
once you get stronger.
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean?
All right, chat fam, we back again with another episode. Y'all gotta help me out.
19?
19.
Yeah.
Welcome to the group chat podcast. You know how we do. You know how we give it up. On this podcast, I will not be cursing as much because y'all always saying I curse. So I'm going to try to figure it out. But to the left, I got.
Come on, man. CP, you know I'm always to the left. CP.609. Follow that.
You
Yes, sir.
always are to the left.
I
To
gotta
the
shout that
far
out.
right, I got.
What's good? I'm Ja. What's good with y'all?
In the back, we got. Mac don't even got a mic, but y'all know Mac.
Mac, a.k.a.
And, Gen Z. He don't like that, but that's what he is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've been to Joyce Kilmer in my bad years, you know this man sitting right next to me. I guess my stepmom came up there too. So yeah, you seen both of them. If you went to school with me at Village Charter, you definitely seen my dad. If you got relatives that go there now, you probably see my dad and my stepmom. And if you went to Young High, you see my stepdad. If you lived out west, my dad. If you lived out west, you definitely seen my dad. They call him Bernie Mac out there.
Absolutely.
Who you with?
But other than them being my parents, we have, I guess, love experts, right? 4 books published by the two of them. 2 bestsellers. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Wow.
And they gonna get us right, I guess, because y'all say we toxic. I be on Hotep stuff, so they gonna get us right. So where y'all want to start? I'll let you start because you know
I got started.
you good with the relationship stuff.
So, you know, a lot of times we talk about, you know, our feedback on our experiences on the relationships and stuff and how we deal with women. And, you know, I know a lot of times we get a lot of negative feedback. We're not supposed to think that way. I think the last episode we talked about gender roles. And a young lady actually asked me, well, what is an actual women's role? And I'm like, well, it depends on who you ask.
Right.
So, you know, I think a lot of times men and women have a one-track mind, and it leads to a downfall of a lot of relationships because there's no, like you mentioned earlier before we started recording, there's a disconnect. So I just wanted your take on, like, relationships in general. Like, where is the temperature of relationships going in this generation? Is it going for the good? Is it leading in a negative direction? What's men problem? What's women problem? What do we need to fix in order to stay together? What you think?
We shot. I'll say that. But y'all know better than me.
I think that's a big question. So that was a load.
I'm sorry.
Like 7 questions.
Yeah.
But I think roles. That's a great place to start because most people. Roles involve your expectations. So that's why I think, like you said, depends on who you ask. Mm-hmm. But what's really important is to know what you expect in a relationship. And a lot of times people don't know that. Mm-hmm. So you kind of just want to hook up or you want to get together or you think somebody is attractive, but you don't actually know what you want from that person. It's almost like at a subconscious level that you have an expectation. And it's not until someone doesn't do what you expect that then you know that they're not doing it and you have a problem. So I think you have to know what you expect to give on your part of it and then know what to expect from the other person. Most of the time, when I hear people talk, they're talking about the other person first. Like, well, you know, what are you bringing to the table? What's your expectation of a man? But you haven't actually thought about your expectation of yourself and that you're looking for the compliment of yourself. So if you don't know who you are, you're probably not going to get the compliment. Beyond just like masculine, feminine energy, if you don't really know who you are, you're liable to get anything, and the way someone looks is not necessarily the way they're going to present in a relationship. So what you're initially attracted to is not how someone's personality actually is.
Do you think your standards can be too high? Is there such thing as that, or
I
does it depend on?
love the conversation about standards
Uh-huh.
because I think people say standards, but they're actually talking about a wish list. A standard is something that you actually have had before and that you can maintain, and that's the normal. Most people, when they say, well, my standard for a man is, if you ask them, well, when was the last time that you had a man like that? They'll probably say never.
Wow.
That means it's not a standard.
Right, it's a wish. Okay,
So again, like
Get
if you have a
these
standard
people
for a
together,
woman,
stepmom.
I like
Get
that.
'em.
I like that.
I love a
Because
question
they
about
be
standards.
thinking they right all the time, so get them.
Yeah. Okay, y'all want genies. Okay,
Get 'em.
got you.
But that's what I always say. Like, what's your standard? What do you bring? And even if you don't have it right now, you can start being that. So if you're like, hey, my standard in communication is this, then you should lead that way. And then, we talk about indigenous culture. So laws of reciprocity and magnetism mean that typically how you maintain is how someone's going to receive it and respond. So you can really transmute energy. So people sometimes say, I don't want somebody who talks all kind of reckless. But as soon as somebody talks reckless, you're more reckless.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to be able to have like composure to say, if this person presents to me like that, I can pause and I can transmute the whole conversation by not feeding the flame. And that takes a level of maturity, I think, that people don't get prepared for. Because they're not prepared in advance. So you're kind of just trying to pave your way through the relationship while you're in it.
Interesting.
Instead of like getting together at least the top 3 things that you should know how to do before you're in the relationship. Otherwise,
I
you got to
definitely
accept
don't got
you're
that.
practicing.
Wow.
Hey, I think you have it more than you. How could you not?
I tell girls all the time, I'm more Malcolm X than I am Martin Luther King. So you smack me, I smack you back. Not literally, but
Yeah, figure of speech.
I'm not you say something to me.
I'm not.
At first, I'm very sweet, but then if you like continue that pattern after a while, I probably should just be out, but for some reason I don't. So I turn Malcolm X. I'm out a window with my gun. So
By any means necessary.
yeah.
Well, I think that y'all generation is amazing. We happy to be here, man. We've been wanting to be here. Definitely, we are therapists. We have a culturally based counseling and consulting firm. We known around the world for Akoma Day, which is the cultural alternative to Valentine's Day that we created. 16 countries around the world, but we're most happy to be here with our son and his friends. I think you guys are doing an excellent job, bro. I think that what Nawasha is saying about expectations is so deep in people, they don't really understand that it's one of the primary things that's guiding us in relationships. We have an idea of the way we want things to be. It ain't that way on the women's side and the men's side. We have a concept that says guilt/blame versus responsibility. And if you are guilty, you feel like you're wrong, right? But if you feel like the other person is wrong, you're blaming. We're saying that if you're not manifesting the way you want to manifest, it's not guilt or blame that's the issue. It's that you're taking responsibility. So we've been together for 21 years. And if something goes wrong, the immature idea is to look at whose fault it is. But if you have a child, and when you were coming up, if a child does something wrong, you're not looking to tell the child it's their fault. You're looking to help the child take responsibility for what it has been wrong and to make it right. In relationships, this is the mature approach. It doesn't matter if we're a team and we looking to win or lose. If something go wrong, we both gonna lose. Yeah. So it's not a matter of this your fault and this ain't my fault.
Right.
That shit is on you. Like it's not on me. You know what I mean? You saying what's my responsibility in this, and what's your responsibility in this? Because most of the time, my wife is bringing strengths to the relationship that I don't have. And I'm bringing strengths to the relationship that she don't have. So together, we're perfecting our own character, right? So if something goes down that I'm weaker at, if she got the answer, she's going to take responsibility and help. But to sit back and say, see, this is your fault, and it's your fault,
Right,
and
right.
see, this is what that's immature because my loss is her loss. Like her win is my win. So we're looking to complete one another and take responsibility. But when we don't understand that, we're living in defense because this is a trauma time. Everybody's hurt. Everybody has family trauma, back trauma, all kind of stuff going on. So we want to get pain up off of us quick. So as soon as something don't feel right, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's you gotta get your shit together, or you gotta get something together. And it's actually not that he says
He could curse.
Kyrie said no cursing. Right?
He could curse. They be on me.
Trying to minimize his curse.
They be on me. So go ahead. do your
Like father,
thing.
like son. Like that's one of my weaknesses that I'm still holding on to slightly. Because when I get animated sometimes, I deal with a lot of people. In my background, I kind of like work with murderers, rapists, pedophiles, and couples and families and stuff too. But I kind of did 25 years in prison systems where I was working with people. So I got a lot of colorful language, even when you're trying to help some of them, you got to talk to them like, what's wrong with you, bro?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So, but I think that's one thing. Expectations is one thing. And we all come with expectations because we got beliefs that we bring to a relationship. It's you coming with some beliefs about the way relationships are. I don't beat y'all generation up, male or female, because I think these females, they want something that they're afraid to say, right? Because the trend of the culture doesn't make it popular.
Okay.
They want to be in love. They want to be married. Now, y'all have a certain age now, so y'all may not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Y'all may not you. Yeah. okay. He said not me. Well, at a certain age, these women are looking for something that y'all can provide for them, but y'all are looking for something too, and so it's a fear of each other. It's like double dutch. Like I want to jump with you, but you go first. No, you go first.
Right,
no,
right,
you
right.
go
Let's
first.
just
No,
jump
you go
together, right.
first. And then after you get tired, you're like, y'all crazy. Y'all playing games out here. You playing games, and then the mudslinging goes back and forth. But I think expectations is to be able to look at yourself and say, if you could have anything, if a young lady turned to you, Ja, and said, if you could have anything that you want from me over this next year, what would it be? I'm not asking you to answer that, but I'm just saying, if you think about it, she might be listening right now. Like, that's John's girl in the back. His stalker is wanting to know. But you have to come to the table with that. And so, as I was saying when we were recording before, dudes want these girls to give them everything. When a person giving you their body, that's their soul that they're giving. Now, you want me to give you my mind, my body, and soul with loyalty for you to like try me out and see how it's going to go? Like, that's
dummy.
a hard deal. That's
dummy.
a hard deal.
Yeah.
So,
But that's reality though, because like you don't get with every girl I done had sex with. They're not my girlfriend.
Right.
They don't have my child. Like,
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
that's part of it
But
though.
what did you expect from her, though?
Give me what she gave me.
No, what I'm saying is, if two people are going to go into a relationship and it's just going to be a physical relationship, that's one thing. But when you have a deeper expectation, or sometimes people try to build a relationship after sex. Right. So then what happens is you say you have a relationship that is just physical, but you have a relationship that's physical like 8 times. Now you got a couple bonus sprinkles of expectations on there, and then
psychological.
you like next thing you know, somebody's like, oh well, it's Thanksgiving, we going to your parents' house or my parents' house. And the next thing you know, and then you're looking like, I never should have probably had a relationship with this person to begin with. But the metaphysical parts of sex, you automatically have a connection with a person through sex. People don't realize that, but you're all over somebody, the smell of somebody, the taste of somebody, all of those types of things, you're bonded whether you want to be or not. So the more you do it, it's kind of like the oxytocin, and it's actual a neurological release when you're having sex. And don't let sex be good sex. Because now
Yeah.
you have an extra bond with a person that you don't want to talk to, you don't like any of their beliefs, you don't think they're smart, and don't accidentally have a baby with somebody and then have to force a connection that's not there when you don't agree with their parenting, you don't think that they have good morals, you can't tolerate their values. And the thing that always happens that I think is interesting is as soon as you have a baby, and hopefully this will not be any of your experiences, but then things get real crystal clear in a second.
Right,
If somebody just shows you a positive pregnancy test, now you're like, she don't even got a job.
Yeah.
She didn't finish school.
You start,
Her car is dirty. Exactly.
That's scary to think about. Yeah.
So it's like one extra thing because the expectation changes as soon as you're like, this is about to be the mother of my child. So now I don't like the way she eat. I don't like the way she talks. She's going to be the first person teaching my child how to speak. And we don't even consider those things. You could find somebody who was attractive and could have good sex, and you could still like them as a human being.
Right, yeah.
To at least set yourself up better. But once you get to a certain stage in life, beyond a little bit, like into puberty and beyond, you have to accept that you could potentially, the best case scenario is that you'll make a baby.
responsibility, a different type of responsibility.
The worst case scenario is you'll contract some disease. You'll hang around somebody too long till you just marry them by default from pressure. Those things ruin your life. The best thing that could happen is you just get a baby, and that's a blessing, a new person on the planet. But the worst thing that can happen is a lot of bad things. And the person is keeping you from your soulmate. Just like randoms are keeping you from a deeper level of character development yourself. Because you got to stay at a lower vibration to deal with, to have like 10 randoms in rotation takes a lot of energy. It's almost like you're wanting a polygamous relationship.
I know about it. Back in the day.
Yeah.
So I
Not
think
right now.
If you're like, hey, I have a physical relationship,
Not right now.
then that's real. That, hey, you're an adult.
So-
Everybody that you had sex with, you're not
So
going to be with.
correct me if I'm wrong. Y'all been together for 21 years?
Yes.
So what I notice, nowadays, we don't have a problem with obtaining. It's the maintaining, like sustaining the relationship, keeping that, like that flame, like that want that I had when I first met you.
Right.
How do you two keep that spark, that relationship, as if it still feels brand new? Like, what is some of your strengths that you?
You have to plan to grow together, or else you're going to automatically grow apart. And we have a little technique that we use, a 52 date night. Like, it's funny because when you're hooking up with a person, that's not dating. That's actually courting. What dating is used for is for a committed couple. And what is dating? Dating is a way to unfold your personality over the life cycle of your relationship.
Wow.
Because every 7 years, you're going to go through a change. So like, we've been together 21 years, and my wife says it's like we've been in 4 marriages. Because when we were first together, what we was on, it was just us and Kyrie, and you know what I'm saying? Then other siblings came, and crazy situations came, and we were traveling and running around and moving around the country, going out of the country, and then that changed. And then it's like, so I think first we have an acronym that is Akoma Soul. So Akoma is the symbol of, it's the name of our holiday. It's the name of our counseling firm. It is actually the name of the symbol that we call a heart. We call it a heart, but it's actually a coma. I know John know about that, right? Yeah. So, soul means self and others understanding love. There is a Trinity in a relationship. So there's a he, a she, and a we. We call it the love Trinity. Who Mancho is as a person is very different than who Mancho is in the relationship. Not that I'm a liar or my morals are different, but just the stuff that I'm into is not necessarily what my wife is into. The stuff she into, not necessarily the stuff that I'm into.
Right.
But we have to make time for the relationship. So like, we got a car that we share. We maintenance the car. We clean the car. We use the car to get from A to B. If you see me in the car, I'm saying this is my car. If you see her in the car, she's saying this is her car. The car is not us. The car is a tool that we're using. The relationship is not us. It's something that we're in. But through emotional immaturity, we think we are the relationship. Wow. So it's like, yo, what I want and what I feel and what I'm into right now, this is what the relationship should be about. But you don't do that at work. You don't do that at the gym. You might want to use that equipment different, but they saying the rules here, you can't do that. You know, you go to Planet Fitness, you can't grunt and
right. They're gonna hit the lock alarm.
Yeah, you can't take your shirt off or so. You might want to do that at home.
Right.
You know, so your rule sheet. Now, did you compromise your morals? No. But you agreed to a code of ethics because you're sharing a space. Mm-hmm. When you go to work, you don't change your whole belief system, but you know that you move a certain way because you're in a shared relationship. We come in a relationship, it's like we want to go, now let me just all this shit got to be about what I like. You know what I mean? Right. And that is a part of emotional immaturity because we're in such a lack. We want this one person to do what we can't even do, and that's fulfill all of our needs. No one human being can fill all your needs. This is why you have friends. This is why you have coaches. This is why you have parents, grandparents, enemies. This is why you have a community because all of these people serve a purpose. Now, your mate is your most intimate and most fulfilling relationship. It's higher than a parent. It's higher than a child. It's the highest relationship in the world. It's the only one that can create life. But it's still not every single thing. Like what I get from my wife doesn't compare to my best friends, but my wife ain't one of my boys. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I need them when I need certain outlets.
So you mentioned, and I agree about it's impossible to fulfill somebody's needs. Like one person can't fulfill somebody's needs. Do you think it's a sense of immaturity for a person to get his needs or her needs fulfilled with a polygamy relationship? Like a polygamous?
Historically, black women created his polygamy. Now, there's a thing going around today say we always been this way and we always going to be that way. It's nature. No, it's not. It's taught. Polygamy is a reaction to black men and women are born, even still today, are born at the exact same rate. In fact, if you understand the symbol of the a coma, it really is a spiritual symbol of how a man and woman. Anytime a man or woman exists, there is a pair to the other. They are a part of a pair. So that symbol that we call the heart that goes like this, a man and a woman was born on a spiritual plane, separated, put into the womb of a woman one place, and then months or years later put into the womb of another woman, and then they reconnect and point back to the center from which they came. That's what that symbol is about, that we're calling a heart. So everybody has a literal soulmate. Like if you exist as a man, there's a female other half of you somewhere in this world.
Relationship, you ain't with your soulmate.
Probably a lot of people don't meet their soulmate. Some are aborted in the womb. Some are murdered. But
did y'all know that? Y'all ain't know that, did y'all?
But listen,
that's
ain't
know that. What I'm going.
But listen, right? But listen to this.
I hope you
even if you don't have your actual soulmate, the noun, you can practice the art and science of soulmating with whomever you choose. And you can still build a beautiful relationship. It may not be your actual soulmate, but those who actually search out for their actually soulmates usually find them. But they have that magnetism conviction. So there's a certain level of commitment. Because see, like we want the relationship to work before we get in the relationship.
So I was born in 1995. It's a chance that my soulmate was aborted.
Could be. Like I'm saying, some are. I'm saying some. No. The reason I say that, I don't know if y'all know. You know, the number one death in the black community is abortion. It supersedes like the violence that, you know, young men kill each other. Yeah. Young women are forced in situations sometimes where they have to make a difficult decision. And they make that decision because they don't have support. They don't have a lot of things. So when that two is separated, and this is where actually in spiritual texts it says a woman came from a man's rib or a man came from a woman's rib. This is what that is actually talking about. It's a metaphor of that thing where you're actually literally a pair. So when you hear Jack and Jill and Hansel and Gretel, those are African tales that have been co-opted and put into other cultures. So now you're missing the real understanding. But Jack and Jill went up a hill and then they came down the hill, to get water, which is the sustenance of life. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of symbolism in that stuff. But I'm saying that more than lament on if I'm with the right, like what happened to my soulmate, the way you're going to find your soulmate is to live your purpose. And here's the question that 9 out of 10 people can't answer. And I'm asking this to all of y'all, but I'm asking it. You don't have to answer it.
Yeah.
I'm asking it hypothetically. Yeah. Thank you. Why did you come to this earth?
I ask myself that all the time.
If you can answer that question, if you can find that out, the next move is you're going to find your soulmate. Because if you live your purpose, it magnetizes, as Nawasha was saying, it is a universal force that is going to magnetize your soulmate. Why? Because your soulmate is the female version or the male version of your purpose. So this is African culture that we aren't taught. You came here, everyone sitting in this room is the most unique individual that was ever made. You have come to bring something to the world that nobody else was created to bring. So if you can get in tune with that, you're actually pulling that person to you more and more and more. The more you become that, and you know what? I'm going to go to Michigan because I'm looking for this, or I'm going to do that because I'm doing this. And then boom, you bump into somebody like, damn, I just met her.
Yeah.
Well, no, you didn't just met her. You pulled that magnetism because most people die never knowing what their purpose is. So now this is how crazy we are. We don't know our purpose. We don't got a plan. We ain't ready to commit, but we want the greatest woman in the world. How, Sway? How?
Sounds
How
like
we
a
want that?
contradiction. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Say that to them girls too.
And the same thing with the women. The same thing with the women.
Say that to them
loyalty.
girls.
You want
We're still on the S.
you want loyalty. You want
I'm on a
somebody
G.
to be
Girl.
to protect you, to provide for you. You have no idea if you coming or going. You don't know. You don't even want to hear the fact that it's a role for a woman, because there absolutely is, and there's a role for a man. But some women, they have been so slighted, they don't want to hear that. And a lot of young ladies are growing up with their moms in the absence of dads are so masculine that you're like a boy. You know what I mean? You're like a female boy or a male girl. That is also happening. And I'm not talking about
Emotion, like him.
I'm saying psychologically. I'm not talking about in terms of sexuality or anything like that. But I'm talking about if you are a female and you grew up, it's just you and your mom.
Right.
And so in the absence of your dad, your mom is taking on the role of some of the things that men do. And she's probably doing a poor job, not because she's not talented, but she's not a man. Mm-hmm. Similarly, if your mom is not there, me and Kyrie's mom had a great relationship. Soon as we broke up, before I met my wife, I knew it was important for me to get married quickly, because I was a single parent with a little boy, right? So he grew up in a way that a lot of young men who grew up in one-parent homes didn't. They grew up with their mothers, but he grew up with his father, but it was still incomplete. So I needed to, in addition with his mother who was long distance, I needed to replace, or I needed to find my mate so that I could be so that we can represent some of what parenthood is supposed to be.
Wow.
If you don't fill that gap, and it's not an accident that is happening to black families. See, this is the thing we got to understand. This shit ain't happening because everybody crazy. There is a system in play that is making sure that we stay apart, because if we come together, the game is over. So you got to do whatever you can to keep this black family apart. with this system that they're using, this racism system. Because if you let, like, black fathers, Quay, as I said, and me and your dad generation, we was probably the last generation. I'm a few years older than my wife. She had her parents till she was 12, and then they separated. But from our era, as you know, most of our parents are still together, right? Because this system, one of the stages of this racism is the fourth stage is refinement. So it's setup, which is establishment. It's maintenance to keep it going. And then it's growth to expand it. But the fourth stage is refinement. What is refinement? It's deceptive evolution. So in one generation is hip hop used against the youth. That's what's happening right now. So 30 years ago, we created hip hop and owned it. In this generation, it's being used against us. At one time, it was sports. At another time, it was the military. At another time, it was crack. At another time, it was something else. This is the refinement stage. So the system is always working against us, and the system's ultimate goal is to keep the family apart. Because if a black man and a black woman are in a parental coalition raising their children, they merge with other black families, they create communities, and then their education, entertainment, economics, fashion, food, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war is directed in their own interest. When that is not happening, then we got the wild shit that we got right now.
So I don't want to cut your wisdom.
Yeah.
So I got a question. So what do you say, or both of you guys, what do you say to people who grew up in the household with their mom and dad actually being married, but they're still trash in relationships?
That's a good question.
I think we always tell people, just because you have your parents there and they might be trash, even if you have your parents there and they're happy, a lot of times parents don't give intentional lessons to their children. So even if you're like, my parents have been married for 30 years and they're amazing, they love each other, a lot of times you can't articulate what they do to love each other. So everybody's still almost in the same position, where what you have to do is find people that you do admire and model them. So, you know, sometimes your parents can be like, this is how you do the laundry. Don't use too much detergent. Put it on at this temperature. They're really, really explicit with how to cook, how to do the laundry, how to just take care of your car. But then when it comes to having a girlfriend or, you know, having a boyfriend, they're just like, you got to communicate. And it's a period at the end of the sentence, or that. It's like, it's always kind of like what I don't want you to do, or how to avoid some problem that I had as a parent, right? So everybody's in the same position. When you're looking for somebody, though, you want somebody who thinks well of their parents. So you ask somebody a question like, if they say my dad is trash, you got to be like, how are you dealing with that? Not just you're still attractive and I still might have a baby with you, and then have to deal with the fact that you think your dad is trash as you raise our son or our daughter. But you really just got to be like, oh, I love my mom. Great. Why do you love her? You know, like, it's that second level, third level sometimes of conversation that you have to have that we're not really having. It's like, I have like 5 questions in my pocket that I YouTubed. I Googled, what should I ask somebody? What should I text them as we're in the talking to phase? But you don't really know how to go to the next level of conversation. So most people, I'm not going to say most people are trash. I love people. I think most people are good at heart. But I will say most people are not prepared in life in general. So I meet everyone and say, I think the best of that person on the unconditional love universal level. But then I accept that probably when it comes, you're probably trash when it comes to like communication or intimacy or those types of things. So this is where you having standards comes into play. Because if you have a standard, then you can be like, hey, this is how, if you say, what do you think a woman's role should be? When they're like, I don't know, or whatever they say, that's when you should be like, well, hey, I think a man's role is this. And this is my opinion about a woman's role. But a lot of times the conversation doesn't go to that level. It's like, see, you don't got nothing to say. And it becomes a tennis match of back and forth. Instead of, you don't have anything to say, but I do. So let me actually tell you what I have to say and then see what you think of that. It's almost like you're trying to like one up somebody all the time in a conversation, like, and point out that they're trash. You can't wait to show somebody that they're trash.
When it comes to the roles, it's like the women be telling us our roles. Like they tell, and I don't understand how a woman can tell me what I'm like. You're not a man, like you.
So what would be your answer to somebody saying what your role is?
My answer usually, I'm not telling you because you talk back, you snap crazy. Like I'm not personally even getting in that conversation with a woman like that.
What could be a better response than that?
I know the better response, but listen, I don't got time for them girls.
Like,
He's talking to Mike.
Oh,
if somebody tries to tell you what to do, right, and how you should be all perfect before you're even in a real relationship, the key is to say, I think that's interesting that you're bringing that to me. You want to have a conversation about roles, we can have a conversation about roles. Where did you get your idea of what a man's role is? Before you even act like it's really about you, right? So again, like in the first couple of weeks of knowing somebody, I'm going to say forever. Mm-hmm. Most interactions are more about that person than it is about you. So like even me today with Masho, if I say something or do something, it's more about me when I'm being good and when I'm not being good, right?
Interesting.
So if I am acting crazy, it's more about me. Mm. If I'm being generous, it's more about me. Mm. It's not about the other person. You always have your start of that's really a standard. I'm saying this is how I want to be. This is how I'm going to talk. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm bringing that energy to whatever conversation. So if somebody says, hey, I think a woman should be doing this, this, and this, before I take that on and over-identify with it, I'm going to say, oh, where'd you get that from? That's interesting. It's like if you have, somebody says you have a unicorn horn on your hat right now, and you're like, for a fact that you don't. Are you going to go back and forth and be like, no. Let's talk about unicorn horns?
Nah.
No.
But one more thing I was going to say before.
Go ahead.
I just think we need to identify what the roles are because, a lot of women, and it's basic. I can't say a lot of women because I don't have conversations with a lot of women. I'm going off of what I see on my timeline, just as all our generation are. It's usually the man's supposed to pay for this, the man's supposed to do this, the man's supposed to know how to build, and then my response would be but I'm not doing that for no city girl. What do you do? Do you cook? Do you clean? I have an issue. I clean better than most women. And that's weird to me. You know what I'm saying? But it's you don't cook, you don't clean. You're not nurturing. You're not I'm better off coming to him or him if I had a bad day than to my girl. And that's just weird. Yes, I'm living through some horrible stuff. No, I'm talking about me though. I'm talking about the timeline and me.
Yo,
it's both.
I think to answer your question, I
messed
think
up out here. Somebody come save
there's
me.
probably 2 or 3 things that we could say about women and men, but I think the key thing is that men provide and women nurture, and you said that. So what do men provide? It's not necessarily
just money,
always
right?
money, right? So you're providing emotional support, you're providing protection because it's a crazy world out here, and women get attacked by their men more than black men are the most attacked people on earth. Black women are the most disrespected. Agreed. And that disrespect comes just in social contact. So a woman could walk by, and because she's beautiful and got a fat ass now, every man that she walks by is going to levy some disrespect. We don't even know how to compliment our women from a safe distance to make them feel good about what we're saying we're actually attracted to. We attack what we're saying we're attracted to, and if that doesn't turn her on, then we'll curse her out. Mm-hmm. So we have what I call a lust hate. But I think there's, I could say provide, protect, prophesy. A man is supposed to have a vision, right? He's supposed to have a vision of who we are, a moral, ethical belief of who we are, what is right or wrong, and where we're going to in the future. When a woman believes in a man, she believes in his vision. If he doesn't have a vision, she don't believe in him.
She don't got nothing to believe in. Yeah.
She has nothing to believe in. So this is why I'm saying that for the men, you have to come in and you got to have somewhat of a plan. So we in our book, in our first book, it's called A Coma Day. a sacred the sacred science to the a
You
guidebook.
don't know your own book?
A guidebook into the sacred science of soul mating and
getting
cultural
old.
alternative to Valentine's Day. I say this stuff all the time.
Oh, okay.
I got tongue tied.
I understand.
Right?
Woodchuck, yeah.
Right. So in that book, we have over 28 exercises for individuals or couples to do or a family to do to help you clarify some stuff, right? But I would say if a man provides, protects, and prophesies, a woman will feed into him. If a woman nurtures, nourishes, and neutralizes, so he got 3 P's and she got 3 N's, right? So, like I had the idea of a coma day 3 years before I met my wife, right? Talked to a lot of brothers about it, talked to a lot of men that I looked up to, national, international, famous people. They said, oh, this is a great idea. And I wanted to move with it. My friends was even telling me, move with it. This is so dope. You know what I mean? So I had it. But when I got with her and I gave the idea with her, it became what it is today in 16 countries around the world. Why? Because she nurtured my idea. The same way a woman is going to take your physical seed and give you a child, a woman is going to take your vision. And like Quay said when we came in here, I said, oh man, this is dope.
Yeah.
This is his idea.
Yeah.
And he shared his vision with his wife. She came in here and created this, right? Which is something he wouldn't have done. Like he even said that, right, Quay? So this is his vision nurtured through her eyes. Now she's nourishing. She's going to feed you, not just food, because some young women don't know how to cook. They really don't, because their moms wasn't around, because their moms was being mom and dad. Working 3-4 jobs, didn't teach her how to cook. So she can learn that, though. But right now, she might not know that, but she's nourishing you with emotional support. The same way you're providing emotional support. And then she neutralizes. What does neutralize mean? You going through stuff with your man Kyrie or Ja, or you going through stuff out in the world. The black man is the most attacked human being on earth. So he show up. You know, I hear young brothers say, why y'all don't smile at us? I say, shit, why we don't smile at each other? We scared of each other the same way they are.
Yeah.
I see you down, you my son's good friend. Let me run into you down a dark street. You ain't gonna say, why we ain't smiling at each other? So I'm gonna be like, yo, what's up, man? Like, you know what I mean? I'm protecting myself.
Right.
So our women help neutralize, because you coming home with stress, you coming home with all kind of things, fears, hurts, and she can help. All right, baby, let me take care of you. Sit down. I'm going to rub your feet. I'm going to rub your back. I'm going to make love to you. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to do something, or I'm going to just sit and listen to you. Because the rest of these jokers don't listen to nothing you saying. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just sitting here listening to you and saying.
We need that.
This is the vision, the role of men and women in our ideal state.
Sure, it's terrible.
But now, where are we right now? Are men providing? I ain't really talking about money, because the way this system go, sometimes women are more employed than men. But technically, men actually make more money still than women. So are we providing? If you walk up to most women, because we deal with clients all the time, and say, what is the plan of your man? What did he tell you about? I don't know. I don't know what he doing. I just like him. Why you like him? Because he like me. Or because he put the D on me. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm just hypnotized. I'm dickmatized. Or I'm whatever. But he don't really got a plan. He's not providing anything. And the way a lot of young people are, I want you, some of those women want y'all to get everything without any commitment. You want everything without commitment. And because we don't have, so there's a couple things we need. We need trauma healing, because we've all gone through some trauma in our families, in our growing up, just as black people collectively. We need trauma healing. But then we need relationship education. That is an art and science, a skill of how to select, how to court, how to mate, how to communicate.
Think it should be taught in school?
No, I don't think it should be taught in school unless we have our own schools. Like where Ja grew up at. Like, if we don't have our own schools, do you think you should go to your enemy house and eat?
Nah, I got poison in it.
Yeah. So you know, No, it shouldn't be taught in schools unless it's our schools.
Okay.
But it should be taught in school if it was ours, in community, in family, because when something is taught, it has to be reinforced everywhere. One of the reasons that, like what Nawasha was saying, and I know she was getting to it because she always does, is that even when your parents are telling you the right shit, as soon as you get 7 years old, your parents are not the primary voice in your like when I say every 7 years we change, so 0 to 7 is infancy, characterized by dependency. 7 to 14 is adventure, characterized by play and it's childhood, characterized by adventure. 14 to 21 is puberty, characterized by passion. 21 to 28 is metabolic maturity. We say our bodies changed at 30, but it actually happened at 28. You can't eat the same shit and look like you used to.
Yeah.
But he's like, I used to eat this shit all the time, but I can't do that no more. And you're like, it takes you, some people, 20 years to accept something happened different in your body. You can't metabolize now laters no more that you could when you were 6. 28 to 35 is emotional maturity. 35 to 42 is mental maturity. And then 42 to 49 is spiritual maturity. So when you get my age, you talk to people, how you doing? Sun shining, birds singing. We talking this kind of like we on something else, like because we in a different zone. So when you get 7 to 14, your parents aren't your primary. That's why they say if you give me your child from 0 to 7, then you can have them back. The Catholic Church said that because we could put enough in them to kindergarten is a garden, right? We can train them up enough that it would take the rest of their life to undo the shit that we did. So when you get 7 years old, like we used to say all the time, we vegetarians, right? We grew up vegetarians.
I'm vegan again.
With Kyrie, we used to send Kyrie with burgers and stuff like that was vegan. He didn't even really understand the burger that your friend is eating is not the burger that you're eating. Right. Like they look kind of alike, but they taste different, and it's actually animals in their food, right? Mm-hmm. But he got to a point where he just rebelled against that because why? We all want significance and acceptance from our peer group. I don't want to go around my 20 friends and they like, ew, what the fuck are you eating? You know what I mean? Like,
Shout out to James. He's the only one who liked the chicken patties.
So you want to be accepted by your peer group. So right now, relationships are dysfunctional. I guarantee you this. Quay, you married. If you hang around 10 people who aren't married for too long, you will not be married. It's just that simple. I'm sure your dad done told you that.
Yeah.
If you're looking to be married, if you're looking to be mated, and everybody you hang around don't like relationships, don't believe in them, scared to death, don't trust nobody, guess what? You think you're going to get married out of that group of friendships? So we are vibing off of who is, like we're sharing a mind. This is what we don't understand. Your thoughts are not just yours. They're partially the people, your company you keep. So,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, do your thing.
All right, so I was on another podcast and we were talking about basically community and trauma. So the question I just wanted to ask was to heal a community, because what you just said was we have a collective consciousness.
Right.
Right. So they were talking about childhood traumas, right, being the main thing to attack. But me, I have a sense of community. Right. You know what I mean? About the destruction. I told her about the black man being the most attacked,
right.
You know what I mean?
Unprotected.
But
attack, right.
But what is the trauma, the most important trauma when it comes to healing a community? You know?
Well, I think it's all individual, and I think it comes in those areas, those 11 areas: educational, family, entertainment, sex. I was sexually molested as a child. You know what I mean? As a very young child, and by a family member from 2 to 8 years old, from 6 years. So that is very traumatic. It's part of the reasons why I'm a therapist right now. You know what I'm saying? You might have had a different trauma. Some people, we deal with a lot of clients who, like, they grew up in, like the community we grew up in, me and your dad grew up in, a lot of the families were intact, my parents were one of the only couples that didn't stay together for a long time. That was very damaging to me psychologically, but I was happy for them because they weren't getting along, right? But at the same time, when I looked at your dad and all of my friends, like I said, most of their parents are still together to this day. I just saw a picture of your grandparents the other day, right? And I'm like, man, I just remember being 8, coming to their house, like, and they being an extension of our parents. So just like we talked about, no one person can give you everything. We learn as we get older, your parents can't give you everything. It takes a village. Like we talked about village charter.
Yeah.
The reason that is an axiom, it takes a village to raise a child. People say that part, but the part they don't say is it takes a child to raise a village. Because when the child comes,
That's deep.
everybody brings their gifts. Well, let me help them with sports. Well, let me help them with medicine. Well, let me help them with whatever. And if we did have community more intact, then if your parent wasn't up to par in one thing, because me and your dad talk about now that we're older and we understand that all of the parents weren't perfect. We thought that when we were growing up. But now we understand, oh, so-and-so dad actually had a drinking problem. And so-and-so mom was, she was, but now you could see that when the community wrapped around the child, it didn't matter. So in our traditional communities, a lot of times you don't even know who your birth parents are because you're allowed to be with my mom, Phyllis, my mom, whoever. You could just be with everybody because we were clear. So now once we started going through cycles of traumas, to your point, that wasn't even necessarily unsafe because you could have like, okay, I'm going to leave you with your uncle, but your uncle is dealing with some pain and some trauma. Now he's inflicting that pain on you and you a 3-year-old child.
So was that like a lot of people use the term generational curse, or is that more so like a genetically chemical imbalance?
Well,
or
it's a generational trauma because hurt people. So that's all it is. That's all it really is. But let me answer Quay's question and then I'm gonna let Nawasha take it. So I would say that, your question was, is it a specific drama or what's the most important trauma is not being loved and encouraged to find your purpose. It is the most dangerous shit in the world because if you send, like say on the street on Keswick Avenue where your dad grew up, it had to be like 70 homes, right? If in them 70 homes say it was 2 children in every home, there's 140 kids out here who are not being loved and not being told their purpose. They will tear down the whole community because they're random, they're psychotic, and they're looking for love, and they're looking for all kinds of emotional gratification. But the way they doing it, some doing it through drugs, some doing it through food, some doing it through violence, some doing it through aberrant sex, some just walking around stealing shit, some are doing all kind of stuff. So now you got lawlessness in the psyche. And so the most important thing to not to heal traumatically is parental coalition of love and help this child find his purpose as early as possible. When we look at our greats, Serena, we just saw the movie of Serena and Venus, or whoever you look at, Jordan, whoever, you will always hear this. And there's some exceptions, but you will hear from a little child, this is what they was into. Because the greatest people, everybody comes with their purpose. So we all got one, but you have to discover it. Now, imagine if we all grew up in a family and a community that was helping you find your purpose everywhere. What you want to do? What you want? You know how they used to ask you, what you going to be when you grow up? When we was little, you don't see that anymore because it's not communities. It's not neighbors in the neighborhood. The neighbors gone, it's just the hood. And so now you don't even really know who you live next to, or you don't really talk to them like that.
Strangers.
Yeah. So your dad could tell you, we knew everybody, and you could go almost in everybody's houses. You couldn't come in my house because my parents was arguing all the time. But a couple of other houses, you could come in, and we knew. So I think to not have a child have love from the first 0 to 7 years, and to not nurture their purpose is the most devastating thing, because they will spend the rest of their lives inadvertently trying to figure it out, and they will destroy themselves and everybody else that comes around them in the process. And so that's the most dangerous thing to do.
You wanted to answer mine?
So yeah.
My question for
I forgot your question.
it was about when I mentioned we was talking about generational curses, and I asked if that was like just a chemical imbalance genetically, or was it? So that was basically my question.
All imperfection is either like inheritance. So when people are acting crazy or they really have a sickness, it's either, your own sickness developing from like borrowed inheritance, which includes DNA, or it's like someone else's sickness that they're just dumping on you. So it might not actually be genetic, but especially when it comes to like not being loved or molestation or things like that, you have an imperfection that you're imposing on whoever you think is weaker, which is just like regular bully culture and all of that type of stuff. But it is true, like epigenetics is a real thing, which means just like you have somebody's eyes or skin tone or hair, you also can have some of their personality traits as well.
Yeah.
So I was going to say the most important trauma to heal because of that is the same thing basically that what Masha was saying, is like rediscovering your own purpose is the most important thing that you can do, and getting rid of anything that you've put on to yourself that's not actually who you are. So most of us have like masks and, pretend personalities that we have because we weren't loved when we were younger, and because we were bullied, and because when we did say what we wanted to be, people told us you can't make any money doing that, or whatever people said, that's their imperfections getting put on us. But in order to survive, you have to kind of like cover yourself and put on another mask and another mask. And I always say it's like those old school, like medieval armor. You got like armor for your finger, armor for your wrist, armor for your forearm. And it's like in 5 pieces. Every time you can actually take off a piece of that and be who you really were meant to be in the first place, then you're much more likely to be happy. I think the main trauma is not being yourself out here. And then you're trying to interact with other people who aren't themselves. So you're pulling people through that magnetism again. Like you're pulling a lot of fake stuff, but it's because you're fake. Like the most authentic people pull the most authentic people to them.
What I notice is I know a lot of people, when they think they know their purpose, I know that a lot of their goals is like financial freedom. But initially, but it's like I see a lot of people, they have the money, but the love isn't there. Is that like a direct correlation to not, you thought that was your purpose? Like, how do you actually find your purpose? Like,
I think your purpose is going to be either a talent that you have or a skill that you've built through challenge. I think people look at things like relationships and like money as the ends, but really those are means. Those are always means. The end is always an emotion. Like I want the financial freedom because I want love. I want joy. I want, to contribute. And what happens is you'll go out and look for the money, but then you don't have the love.
It's not
so when you
justified.
acquire the item, then you're like, this didn't get me what I thought it was going to get me. But if you keep the ends in your mind instead of the means, then you can find that end in like 20 different means, So your purpose is always going to be something that's innate. And you're going to develop some skills based on trying to thrive, based on, so out of the worst situations, like molestation, a person who has to adjust to crazy caregivers or somebody attacking them, typically they develop a real sensory acuity where they're like, hey, look, that person's got a little twitch in their eye. I need to just go clean my room. Right. Or this person came home, I can smell the alcohol. I'm just going to go read. I'm going to go out to a friend. So they develop something that's super keen. It's like a superpower. Okay. That's not necessarily like their purpose to have been hurt, but they get a sense of skill development based on the life, the environment that they were put into. Okay. But in their heart, I always say it's like a heart print, just like a fingerprint. You have something that you like more than other people like it. You have something that you're good at more than other people. And you should just put it out there as like, why are we friends? Send a group text and say, why do you like me? Why are we friends? And get the feedback. Because typically you take for granted things that you're just good in. And you don't even necessarily see it as a skill or a talent or a gift. When other people say you're really smart, you have the best ideas, you're super funny, that's like a clue into what your purpose is. And then you say, what do I really want? Which for us in counseling comes down to 7 things. Everybody wants certainty and security. Everybody wants like adventure and variety. Everybody wants to feel important and significant. Everybody wants love. Everybody wants connection. Everybody wants to grow, and everybody wants to contribute. Those are always the ends. And then there's 50 ways to do that.
Wow.
So I had a question. Damn, what was it? Okay, yes. Do you guys think that everybody will find love? Is it a thing where you just don't find love and you be single? Because I think that's where I'm headed. I don't think I'm supposed to be in a relationship. No, I really don't. I really don't think I'm supposed to be in a relationship.
You got to manifest.
I don't think. This is why I say that. Not to cut your wisdom. I say that because I haven't been in love since I was the first girlfriend.
Yeah, I know the person.
Yeah. So I haven't ever felt that. I've matured to say it was just lust. That thing was good, so I was kind of staying around. But
real.
Well, I can't really.
I think
I haven't felt that in a while.
I think So let me answer the second part first, and then the direct question second. I think part of that is just your phase of life. You know what I mean? We can all remember our first bike or our first pair of sneakers or the first time we went out on our own or stayed away. It seems sweeter. The first of look. The first time most people have sex is really not their best time. Rarely is that the case. However, it's the first time, yo. You never forget that. I know where I was at. I know what I'm saying?
Remember what you were wearing?
Yeah, nothing.
I know her name, her last name.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? All of those things. So at a certain stage of your life, as I was talking about those life cycles of development, we call them life cycles in psychology. When you're in a younger phase, life is simpler. You ever hear people say, man, they look at a young person and say, I wish I was 7.
Yeah.
I wish I could be in kindergarten again. No bills and no, you know what I mean? So you have a connection to something when it's new or when it's more innocent or when it's less complex. So the thing with life is it doesn't get any easier, but we get better, right? So it's like the gym. You were talking about fitness and, when you go in the gym and you start sculpting your body, 100 pounds is still 100 pounds.
Yeah.
It doesn't change.
It
you
just
know what I
feel
mean?
easier when
But
you get
it gets
better.
easier
Right.
once you get stronger.
Right,
You know what
right.
I mean? When you first start out, if you really out of shape, you might not can make it through a 40-minute workout. You I could do 13 minutes. You know what I mean? And then every time it's a little bit, and then you look up in a few months, you're like, damn, I'm doing an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So life is the same way, but we aren't being told that. So we have this thing we're trying to protect because there's so much trauma around. Something happened bad once or twice. Something happened bad 3 times. Oh, I'm the fuck out. I don't.
Takes once.
It usually only takes once because our heart is so tender that we don't want challenge. So what happens is, again, guilt / blame versus responsibility. When you don't take the responsibility to get relationship education, when you go in the gym the first time you went in or the first time you went in, or Quay, the first time you doing this, it might have took you 4 hours to set that up. Now you can set that up in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you're getting better in the skill. We aren't taught that to be successful in relationships, you have to develop skill.
Yeah.
When a conflict resolution is one of the most important skills because the average couple is going to 3 to 5 conflicts a week, some little things. But then about once a season, they're going to go through a conflict that if you don't got good communication skills and good conflict resolution skills, it takes a chunk out of your relationship. And most relationships only have about 12 chunks. Once I take about 12 chunks and you looking like, bitch, I'm not with you no more.
Looking a little
You know what I
slim.
mean?
Yeah, a little slim.
I'm here physically, but I'm almost gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now,
I think I checked out.
So now, what happens is, this is what happens, G.
Checked out.
When you don't have the skills, you can't produce success. So it's like
I
when
keeps
you
it real,
when
you
you
know that.
when you like say when you was playing basketball, an excellent basketball player if you're looking at Michael Jordan and you go out on the court on the first day, if you don't make like 100, you might be like, this ain't the right shit for me. Like, I need to do something else. Yeah. But you have to work like he worked and develop the skill. Now somebody else can watch you play. Like, your siblings can watch you play and like, damn, how could you do a crossover? Like, that's so hard. Yeah. And you're like, no, just cross over. You know, no, like, how though?
Right.
But you practiced it for years. We are in a fairy tale, women are living by a fairy tale ethos. Men are living by a superhero ethos, right? So women think, I meet the right person and we're just going to live happily ever after. Men think, any problem? I got it. How? You don't have this, like, how do you got it? Because this shit that's about to go down in your home is going to take more skill than you had with your friends, more skill than you have at work, more skill than you have in certain groups. So if you don't have the skill, you're not going to be successful in the application of what you do. Now, most of us only, like Nawasha said, we only gonna fail like 3 or 4 times, and that's max. Then we start saying, maybe I'm a polygamist. Maybe I need 8 women. You know what I mean? Because the one that I'm dealing with, it's not working, right. Or maybe I just am not. People start believing this. I'm not built for relationships. But again, if you come from a cultural understanding, if you exist, you came from the relationship of your parents on a physical level. But then 2, you're also the spiritual other side of a mate. So how could you say to yourself, if you understood that, how could you be walking around in the world saying, if you weren't built for a relationship, you wouldn't exist?
Right.
Because you exist. That's the proof that you're supposed to be with somebody. So now, because we can't get our emotional needs met from our significant other or our mate, our friends do part of it. You know, so look who you be with all the time. They have a characteristic that you would love in your mate. This is why a lot of people get with their mate. Young ladies want their man to be their homegirl. Go to the mall with me and get my nails done. Look, I know where I stop and our relationship begins. My wife could say some stuff like, yo, I'm out. Like, I'll be in the mall protecting you or out in the parking lot to make sure nobody jump on you. But I'm not doing that 4 hours of nothing in there. You go in there for 4 hours and come out with like a new nail polish. Like, I'm not doing that. Young men want their homeboys. Come on, we gonna do push-ups and shit. Like, come on, come to the gym with me. And like, we go to the gym together, but that's because we both want to stay in shape and we out of shape. But you don't, your woman is not your homeboy and your man is not your best girlfriend. In emotional immaturity, we want to model, like Nawasha said, what are the best relationships we got? Our girlfriends and our homeboys. So if I'm getting with you and you don't make me feel like my homeboy, but let me tell you, when you get with that woman, and you will notice, me and your dad's like a brother to me. We see each other probably like once or twice a year. Why? I got a wife and 6 kids, bro. Like, and if I got 5 good friends, y'all might see me. If everybody see me once a year, that's a busy year. I'm seeing one of my friends every other month. We could kick it, go out to eat. And me and your dad made a whole bunch of plans like last month, and they never even came to fruition. We just where we gonna go, we gonna meet. Okay, I'm gonna call you. We talked on the phone for like an hour and a half, and then this is going down. The day came up, he hit me up, bro. Something came up. My wife had something going on. I didn't know that we was hosting something at my house. It's a wrap. I said, bro, send her my love. We'll reschedule it. Dude, we might not reschedule it to next summer, but that's my man.
But do you want love?
That's the thing.
That's gonna have to be on the next episode. Sorry, we gotta wrap it up. But you know,
before we wrap it up, I will say this: the greatest version of yourself. Remember this, is going to come when you're truly in love. That's men or women. In the greatest version of yourself is going to come.
Well, I ain't that.
I don't know how that feels yet,
so,
but I'm looking forward
we
to
ain't
it.
there, so
I'm looking forward to it.
Any last remarks? We definitely got to do a part 2, 3, 4, 5.
Part 2.
However many
This is
times.
a dope episode
Because there was a couple questions I ain't even get
I
to
still got
ask.
5.
I know Ja had something he wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah, next time
I'm gonna
it's
save
all
it for the
good,
next
though.
episode
Yeah,
because I was
next
gonna
time,
ask you off
yeah.
camera, but I'll save it for the
Yeah,
next
yeah,
episode.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that was the last thing I was going to say because Masho said the roles. I think that is the main point, is that you want to be with a woman who inspires you to be better, to do more, to, have fun. You're going to be best friends. It's just a matter of being able to be real. And you got to be real with yourself first
That's a
to
lost
attract
art.
another person who's also being real. I think a lot of times people do the jump rope thing, or like we say, I want you to go first. Right? Like you want somebody else to be real, to be authentic, to be loyal, all before you're willing to do it yourself, when it works the other way around. The more real that you are, the more likely you are to be able to even tell when someone's not real, and you can save your time, but also to just really draw a real person to you. Right. And I think everybody should find love. And I'm not just saying that because I wrote a book about it. But I really do believe everyone is better when they're their full selves and when they can feel like they can offer, who they really are. The world needs that.
Yeah.
Like really, the consciousness of the world needs everybody to be themselves. And you're only going to really do that when you feel protected, safe, secure, filled up somewhere. You can't only be giving out, or, you know what I mean? Like you can't always be doing for other people. Somebody has to do for you too.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a woman somewhere.
Yeah. After this
Hopefully so.
conversation,
Hope so.
I just wanted to say to my soulmate, I love you. And I'm coming for you.
I'm going to say I done tried 27, 30, 42. Y'all all bugged out. I'm bugged out too, but y'all bugged out 10 times more than me. So
imagine if you're feeling really
I'm
great.
going to be single.
No, if you're feeling really amazing, if you say y'all all bugged out, I'm bugged out too. Imagine if you weren't bugged out anymore. You'd be pulling a different
I'm a
category.
fellas. That's kind of hard not to be bugged out.
Let me say this. This is statistical. And I know we live in a crazy ass Kevin Samuels era where people think statistics
We
are
love Kevin Samuels on this podcast. What you doing?
Where y'all think
He's the
statistics
OG.
are facts. Statistics aren't facts. They are social indicators. And you always end up where the leader who you're following is. You're following a man who's been divorced twice and is not married, talking to you about relationships. So think about that.
Damn,
Do you want to be where that person is, right? Because we don't go to people who are sickly and unfit looking for training. We don't go to broke people looking for how to make money.
Business
But
ideas.
people are listening to him because for the first time, men have been getting slapped around in the feminist movement for 40 years, and here's somebody slapping back. But it's still a fight. And that's not what you want.
Yeah.
So let me just say this.
Still a fight.
You're going to live longer if you're married. You're going to make more money if you're married. You're going to have more sex if you're married. Because what y'all don't know, that I know,
Put me on. OG.
jumping around,
Put
the
me on.
bed hopping and all that, is only in a 20-year period of your life. See, when
Okay.
you get to a certain age, everybody lives, hopefully, much longer than 20 years. So when you're from like late teens to mid 30s, you think, I'm slinging and I'm going to be doing this forever. You ever see them 40-year-old people in the club?
The
It's like
Viagra
everybody's
dudes.
like,
Yeah,
whoa,
they
what
take the
is-
testosterone.
What is Kyrie dad doing in here? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? Like, you like, now you crazy and you can't get that off in your 40s no more. So now from 40 to 80, it's like tumbleweeds.
That is
Like,
true.
and the way it's moving now, it's like, oh, dude, you 30, you 32? Like, what you doing in here with us? Like, we 24, 25. And so that you don't understand it until, and you can ask your dad. He'll tell y'all all of our friends that been single since we had y'all. It's like, damn, yo, you've been single for a long, and they bitter.
Might be over
and
for
they
his ring.
angry, and they messed up in the game.
Might be
And so
over
you
for
don't want to be that, because that's who y'all dude is. That's who me and him the same age. He's never been married over 3 years.
talking about Kevin?
Yeah.
Oh.
I just liked him for the simple fact that he was, you feel me?
He be
Yeah.
he be ODing.
He's slapping back.
He be ODing.
Because, like I said, they
but-
be wilding. Like,
But you're only talking to, like Nawasha said, like Kyrie said it well. I'm wilding, they wilding. A dude who is dysfunctional can identify women who are dysfunctional. The dope. It's some people out here who never be single because soon as they free, there's a whole bunch of people on them, male and female. But then it's some people. No matter who they get, they'll find a way to fuck it up. That's who's talking to you.
Not that part.
That's who's talking to you when you're listening to this dude. Here, if you are trying to say that you know what's wrong, cool. Show us what's right. If you can't embody that, then all you are is the king of the brokenhearted bitter men and the men who just want to slap the shit out somebody because we've been getting slapped. But we don't even actually have to fight. Over here, it's a whole group of people. Do you see your mom and dad running through the house, smacking each other and fighting? No. See?
Yeah.
So this is why
it just sucks when it's the minority though.
You need, but it just became that. See, you gotta always, John, you gotta always understand yourself in a tradition of time. Kyrie, you need to look at your son and see yourself. You need to look at your dad and see yourself. What you don't like, you improve, right? But you gotta always see yourself in a continuum of time. Black people been here for millions of years, and in the last 50 years, the relationships haven't been going right. Now, if you had 30, 40 people in your life that were over 60, you would be getting good instruction, especially if they're like his grandparents where they're actually together and they're enjoying each other. Imagine if your counsel, because the word counseling comes from receiving wise counsel. Imagine if your counsel was 30 couples who are 60 plus and happy. Kevin Samuels would seem like the joke that he is, but because we got a generation that's saying, I'm tired of these girls with all that shit. Yeah, Kevin, yeah. Tell these girls. Yeah. But then when you look up, hold up, dude, you ain't actually happy though. You don't actually have a relationship. So do I just want to be the one who smacked them back? And now let me smack like on the street. That's corny. You want to beat the girls up or you want to find one that's great? How do you find one that's great? You become great. It's that simple. So it's a million of them little minions now talking about 61% of men. Oh, that shit is stupid.
Yeah.
And it's not actually accurate if you start breaking it down.
You said, wait, they what indicators?
They're social indicators.
Okay.
They're not facts because
survey to get the questions.
Yeah, like we got it. We got advanced degrees. When you getting them degrees and stuff, you got to do surveys. Did people come knock on your door? Did they knock on any of y'all doors when they saying 8 out of 10 men is that like if we all in this room and somebody knock on our door, then it ain't 8 out of 10 men because
that's true.
My survey that I did was 300 men. Now I could take the statistics from that survey, but that's not even one neighborhood in Trenton. 300 people.
Stats overlap too.
Yeah.
Which in isolation it could look like one thing, but it's actually part of another stat.
Right.
Without
That's crazy.
you reading the whole thing. Like that's like any stat. Even like on the dentist. If they say 3 out of 4 dentists recommend this toothpaste, they might have only asked 4 people. Right. So a lot of stuff is like slanted a little bit.
It's game.
So you can take it for what it is.
Yeah, it's fixed.
But then you can say, what's the rest of it?
Yeah, it's game.
But I ain't telling the truth either.
Look, how could you argue with the facts? That ain't no goddamn fact. That's a social indicator. Fact is something that's irrefutable. Those statistics about relationships, 61%, he says, of men or something, he says, he says 61% of black men are above the poverty line or they're what does he say, middle class.
He can't prove that.
Well, listen to this.
Yeah, he can't.
75% of that 61 men are married. So you're who are you talking about? And how is the men above 61% when black people as a whole are under the poverty line?
Damn, Kev.
Like, so you can get that off when you're talking to somebody who doesn't really understand. So this is why he is talking to people that are 10, 15 years younger than him. But when you're talking to your peers and you put Kevin Samuels in a room full, why you think you don't see married people
on his live?
On his live?
Yeah.
Because in order to be married, all of that fantasy shit you dealing with, it goes out the window when you're actually talking to a real person who doesn't necessarily have the beliefs you have and is a female or a male version of your idea of yourself. But to a generation that's in pain, or a generation that's it's like in the 90s when everybody was grimy and they used to be in hip hop. Nobody combed their hair and they didn't
Jerry
shave.
curl, yeah.
And they just had this like grunge look. It was like this grunge. We in a grimy area. We in a dungeon. All the videos was in abandoned buildings and stuff like that. Then Puffy and them came like, dun, 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 dun. It's like rollies and all that. We're going through an era right now where people are hurting in relationships. So whoever is the most hurt and exploiting the hurt is leading all the hurt people. I'm saying
That's an epidemic.
there are a group of us that are not that. And I don't begrudge the brother because he's my brother, but I'm just saying your leader should always be where you want to end up. Not just he said something I agree with, because he says stuff I agree with, and I'm a therapist. But he does and says a lot of stuff that I know is not healthy. So I'm able to take the good stuff that he says and raise it up for conversation, leave the rest alone. I think y'all should do that too. If you looking to be mated, that should not be the person you're following.
All right, Dad. If you also know my dad, you know he's long-winded.
Yes. So I'm just excited to be here. Thank you for having
We
us.
appreciate you for being excited. Chat fam, that was a great episode. Please blow this one up. We gave y'all a promise. We said in the new year we're gonna start having guests. Call the number. What else we want to do? Like, comment, subscribe,
Ask us questions.
Go
share.
to the Black Love School.
Yeah.
We're gonna drop all their information
Yes.
on the podcast episode. You can go there.
Shout out y'all books too.
Young, we're gonna put that all on the
oh,
video.
oh, yeah.
In the video,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because if we do that, he gonna shout out all of them. We're gonna be here
Hold on.
30 more minutes.
Black Love School.
But
That was dope.
yeah, I'm not as shout out as y'all think I am. Y'all can see. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, follow us. Welcome to the group chat. Episode 19. We out.
Yes, sir.